We are back with more Ren and we are beginning our chapters journey. The chapters have been recommended to me in the comments. Thank you very much for all of your suggestions. I think there's about 8 of them, and it's a really good way of getting to know more about Ren. And I've always said that I want to get to know more about this incredible man. And I wasn't sure whether I would react to them or just watch them by myself, but I thought I would like to take you guys on this journey with me. If you're interested in watching them, fine. If not, that's also fine. I'll just wait and see if there's enough interest for all of the chapters. Otherwise, I'll just happily devour them on my own. But I do like the thought of sharing all of my Ren journey here with you guys. It just excites me for some silly reason. But I'm really excited to get to know more about Ren, and this is the perfect place to begin. So let's start with chapter 1.
Hello everyone. This is the first time I've done something like this before. I wanted to write it down because there's a lot and I didn't want to miss anything. And some parts of this might be a little bit uncomfortable to listen to, but I wanted to stay as true as possible to the story, not miss anything, for the sake of people who might be going through something similar, or for the sake of people who don't but want to help understand a little bit more. Yeah. I promise that everything in this story is 100% true. Nothing is exaggerated for dramatic effect. Some names I don't mention and some details I don't go too far into or downplay them for the sake of the people around me. Timelines might occasionally be a little bit off, but that's just because I've had to write everything from memory from a time that was quite hazy. I asked before embarking on this journey with me that you all respect the privacy of myself and the people around me. You might be compelled to reach out to some of the people that I mention, cast judgment, praise them, criticize them, and I ask you kindly not to. It's my choice to be in the public eye, and it's mine alone. This is the first time my story is on the public record in a concise way. Being in the public eye is strange. The more that I give to you, the less that I get to keep for myself. I don't find the experience of sharing particularly enjoyable. I don't so much like the questions that follow. And I'm not a medical expert, so I don't like to be seen as somebody with all the answers, because I don't have them. And because of the empathy that I feel, I'm compelled to try and help as many people as possible. But the last time I opened myself up to this on a one-on-one basis, I was surrounded by a lot of death. And there simply weren't enough hours in the day. So I ask you, if you need support, please reach out to a professional or use my music as your companion. I share my story in hopes that somebody who needs it finds it, that it provides hope, that it might ease the suffering for the people like me. I like my solitude, so I ask that anyone who respects the work I make and respects my contribution to the world to respect my solitude.
Yes.
A lot happened in my teenage years, and I didn't live the most normal of lives, but I'll save that story for another time. The important thing to contextualize this story is that I was full of life. I was full of a burning desire to change the world. The flaws in how we interact seemed obvious to me. I believed in people's power to change the unnecessary suffering we inflict upon ourselves. I was also enamored with music. Music is the closest thing to God that I have. It's a gateway to the unexplainable, and it's a way of communicating the inexpressible. There's just one moment that I want to share with you from the years before I got sick. I was 17 and I felt indestructible. I'm not sure why, but my whole life I had this feeling inside myself that I was meant to do something important, not for myself, not for praise, not for personal gain, but something that would change the world for the better. It's hard to describe it without coming across like an egomaniac or having some sort of God complex, but I felt like I had some sort of divine purpose. And I remember feeling this so strongly that one afternoon after school, I stood in the center of my bedroom and I spoke loud into an empty void. I said that I would single-handedly take on and defeat the forces of evil, and I welcomed them to try their best. Throughout the years, that memory stuck with me, taunting me sometimes. Flash forward to 2019. I remember the first day I knew something was wrong very well. I woke up in an unfamiliar room in Cardiff, feeling like a raven had perched itself upon my heart. Every time my heart beat, it's like some part of me was aware of the foreboding death sentence that was to come. Some sort of primal instinctive dread. Everything felt wrong, and I felt prosthetic, like I could tear my own skin off and observe though I was watching passively from another room. The night before, I'd been in Cardiff visiting friends in university. It was the end of summer, we'd gone out to a few bars. I wasn't really enjoying myself. That year I'd been struggling with social anxiety, perhaps from years of abusing my brain with a whole pick and mix and selection of party drugs. Engaging with society felt like stepping into the ring with a heavyweight champion. Every single fucking question felt like an oncoming haymaker I had to socially navigate because of my very limited toolkit of charisma at the time. I don't know why I cared about being liked so much, but the more I cared, the less equipped I became to have a simple human conversation. I used to deal with this by getting fucking hammered. That night was no exception. I got smashed, lost my phone, and woke up in a strange apartment. In the bed opposite mine was a snoring rugby player and his girlfriend. Everything just seemed off, and it wasn't a hangover. My first thought was I'd been spiked. I quietly gathered all my belongings and left before anyone could wake up and punch me with a conversation. I wandered around a grey Cardiff in the haze, feeling like I've just been rigged up to an IV bag full of ketamine and cyanide, and the whole world just seemed off, like I was looking at it through a tunnel. A heavy feeling of fear clung around me like a straitjacket. The only comforting thought was that with enough time, rest and water, it would pass, but it didn't. For 8 long years, it didn't. And this is my story of an 8-year-long nightmare.
Whoa.
I returned back to my dad's home. He was living with his partner at the time. It wasn't my home, so I already felt uncomfortable and out of place. These unusual symptoms persisted. I figured I'd caught some sort of virus and I'd get better with time. But by the end of the week, things were a lot worse. I took myself to the doctor and he said he thought it sounded viral, that if I went home and got enough rest, it would eventually pass. And it didn't. For 8 years, it didn't. I returned for my second year of university. My brain was full of fog and my body felt poisoned. There were intermittent days where I felt like a hollow suit of skin. I'd sit in lectures unable to focus and was devoid of any sort of personality. I'd be able to have basic conversations, yeses and nos, but I was stripped of the ability to think spontaneously. It's like my body was taking up so much processing power being sick that I could not have original or spontaneous thought. The most peculiar thing about this was there was a me that was aware that this was all happening and was observing it from outside of myself, locked out, screaming silently, banging on the walls of my mind to be let in, and never successfully. And nonetheless, there I was, like a ghost haunting myself. My usual routine was getting home, running a shower and curling up into a ball to cry underneath the running water, not understanding what was going on. I brought myself to the doctors numerous times during this period, requesting every blood test they'd let me have, often being dismissed and told things like stress from university can cause strange symptoms. But how come no one I knew in university could relate to this? Eventually, I was put on a 6-month-long waiting list to see a mental health specialist who did a short 1-page questionnaire and wrongly diagnosed me as hypercycling bipolar and put me on a course of citalopram. After a few weeks, it stole my ability to sleep. I was told to stick it out and it would level out and eventually I'd feel more like myself. I stuck it out and I got worse, and I pulled myself off it after 2 weeks in a row of sleepless nights and insomnia. There's something pretty peculiar about being told you're in some sort of spectrum of madness. Even if you suspect that you're mad, your diagnosis finds a way to claw itself into your identity even if it doesn't belong to you. Ever since I was a child, I'd always be asking what and why and how things worked. I couldn't really accept things as they were without knowing how. I carried into my adult years, and so as the bipolar hammer crashed and sentenced itself into my reality, I began searching online for behaviours associated with it, people's first-hand experiences, what it felt like to be manic. In these earlier days of my illness, the symptoms would fluctuate in severity day by day. Some days I'd be in a thick, tired fog, and other days they'd be more merciful. I began to associate the days of not suffering as mania and would act more erratically on the days that my symptoms were less bothersome. I did things like climbing out of windows of a 6-story student accommodation or get so drunk I'd wake up outside of the university campus lawn. But it wasn't mania. I just wasn't hurting. I spent 1 day a week with my therapist, who was teaching me cognitive behavioural therapy. The issue was, mentally reframing unexplainable symptoms caused a lot of cognitive dissonance for me. I was told my anxiety or depression was causing my symptoms, but in reality it was my symptoms which were making me anxious and depressed. So I was in some sort of inescapable bind. I'd devotedly work on my mental health, following every new tool for coping to the letter, only to have my symptoms get worse, which made me frustrated, raise the intensity of my treatment, only to get even more frustrated as my body seemed to deteriorate. After 6 months, I told my mum I'd happily saw off my own leg with a blunt knife if it meant my symptoms would vanish, and I meant it. I told her if I had to live with this strange feeling for 1 more year, I'd kill myself, and I meant that too. But something happened that winter which showed me firsthand the horrors and the fallout from suicide. I met Joe when I was 9 years old. I remember the first time clearly. I was standing in his living room when he turned to me and he was like, "Watch this." Then he proceeded to climb on top of his sofa and did a front flip onto a stone living room floor. He landed on his back and lay motionless for a few seconds before grinning, getting up, and then doing it all over again. We grew up terrorising the streets of the small village we grew up in, playing knock door run or breaking into people's gardens to play on their trampolines. We stayed friends throughout high school, going through various phases together. Joe was comedian of the group. I remember countless mornings after messy all-nighters, Joe would be cracking endless jokes like a professional stand-up routine, and we'd all be in tears laughing. When I started writing my first songs, Joe and Sega were the first people who always knew every word, and they would sing along at the top of their lungs. They gave me a lot of self-belief, and they helped me build the foundation of what I do today, and I owe them a lot for that. That Christmas, I came back home to Wales from university. On Christmas Eve, me and Joe were sat in a pub, and he turned to me, and he told me that he'd fantasized about walking into the sea until he was totally submerged. He had a pretty morbid sense of humour, so I didn't really take him as seriously as I should have. 2 days later, it's 3 a.m, and I get a phone call. It's my friend Ella. She tells me that Joe is on the bridge by my house. He was drunk, he'd called her up, and he told her he was going to jump. I was still half asleep. I fumbled, pulling on whatever clothes I could that were near, and I walked out of the front door, and the winter air stung my face, and it woke me up. Adrenaline kicked in, and I started sprinting towards the bridge. It was about a 5-minute walk, a 2.5-minute sprint. As I was running, I dialed Joe's number, and I get a busy tone, and I felt relief because it meant he was still alive. I kept hitting redial as I ran, and as I got about halfway to the bridge, the busy tone changes. I get an automated voice note saying the number's out of service, and my heart sunk. I got to the suspension bridge that connects Anglesey to the mainland, and it usually looks very beautiful. I sprint up and down the bridge yelling Joe's name, and there's silence, and it's deafening. And I peer over the bridge into the blackness, and the bridge sits about 100 feet above the water. Hitting cold water at that height is like smashing into concrete. And the waters are notoriously dangerous because of the cross current. I hear nothing, no sounds, nothing. I run up and down the bridge about 2 times before I spot a figure at the end of it, and my heart jumps into my throat, and I run towards the figure, and it's my friend Ricky who's had the same call, and we both run around up and down the bridge and around the surrounding area looking for Joe. More of his friends eventually arrive, and there's nothing. I was about a minute too late. We spent the next week walking up and down beaches with flashlights, and when it's that dark, every other large rock starts to look like a washed up body. We plastered all the neighbouring towns in missing posters, contacting whoever we could, someone who might know something. We checked bank records to see if any money had been withdrawn since he went missing. There was CCTV footage of him walking onto the bridge, but there wasn't any of him coming off. But there were dead zones in the footage, so there was still a small chance he could be alive. I was sleeping about 3 hours a night, pretty determined that we'd still find him. For about 10 days, we had nothing, and then suddenly a call comes through while we're all at my friend Miles's house having food. It's the police. A body had been found in the water by the bridge. We piled into my friend's car. I remember being in the back seat in floods of tears, repetitively punching the back of the passenger seat as we drove to the scene. As we pull up, I saw a lifeless body being zipped up into a green bag near a parked ambulance. Its skin was bloated by the seawater, and it wasn't Joe. Someone else decided to jump that day. Joe was never found. It's difficult to truly let go when you can't say goodbye. For months following, I held on to this fantasy that we'd get a call that he'd run away to some European town, and he was happy and he was healthy. But that call never came. The time during his inquest was also around the time I was struggling with the side effects of a new antidepressant. I remember sitting in the courtroom feeling like I was listening to the whole thing deep underwater. The judge felt the circumstances surrounding Joe's death didn't mean The judge felt that the circumstances surrounding Joe's death meant that the verdict was left open. It kind of stung even more to not have an official ruling of suicide. I remember going to visit his mum not long after and witnessing the aftermath of a mother grieving for her baby boy. The silence of his father, the tears of his mother. I decided that day that I'd have to wait until my illness killed me because I couldn't do it by choice. I couldn't put my family through that. Over the next 10 years, I returned to my hometown, only a handful of times following Joe's death. My last visit was in the summer of last year. I reconnected with Joe's parents and showed them a song that I'd written, simply entitled For Joe. We cried together, reminisced together, joked, and I'm proud to say that I gave Joe's mum enough money to afford a caravan she told me she'd been saving up for. That felt pretty good. We'd also do a fundraiser for the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, who were integral for searching for Joe during that time, and we raised a pretty good amount of money too. Being able to give back in whatever small way I could felt good, and it felt right for all the years Joe had made us all laugh till it hurt. He was a solid person, just a little lost, as we all are sometimes. And I miss him. Life was about to take an even more unusual turn, and I was about to meet the first angel of this story. So stay tuned for that. It's hard to take off from the ground when your wings are cut. Your stomach burns when you're drinking from an empty cup. You know the entire ocean came from my tear ducts. I see the world through Fibonacci sequences and double Dutch. I guess there's some that's born lucky, there's some that's not. I tried to cut away my bitterness, hatchet job. I locked my youth inside the trunk, inside the pickup truck, then dumped that whole thing over that same bridge the night you jumped. I think about that sometimes, vividly. What it felt like to look down and see tranquility. One sudden movement in a world of possibility. Only one movement to expose our fragility. I fucking miss you, and I miss myself. I miss thinking we were indestructible as hell. I miss chilling by the pier cave and kicking back with Callum, Hugo, Justin, Sega, Stevie and the fucking lads. I miss missing that. I numb myself to close the gap. I never even call them up. Distance is my plaster cast to tell the truth. The day you jumped, my childhood jumped too. But I still can't find the anger. All I find is missing you, man, I miss you. With all my rhymes, I picture running 5 minutes quicker, I'm right on time. I picture pulling you back over the edge and then we're crying. And holding you, my brother, and telling you that it's fine, not the way that it worked. I was late like a jerk, there's not a day where I can find a way to break from the hurt. Your body missing, so we never got to wave to the hearse. I hope you're listening, I love you, man, I miss you, absurd, fuck. Another domino, it falls. Across the way another's born. How you're supposed to raise a child and give it courage from a storm. In a world that is confusing, contradictions pave our flaws. Some will say we're only human, others judge us for our flaws. Some get born in sheets of satin, some get by in tattered clothes. Some will die before they live, that's just how the story goes. But for those of us still with us, who reside inside our hearts, tell them proudly how you feel. And for those of us who aren't, freckled angels stand strong, freckled angels live on, freckled angels climb higher, freckled angels still inspire, freckled angels won't forget you, teach me to live my life better. 13 years and still I miss you, now my wings are missing feather. Otherwise I'd come and join you, but for now I'm here on earth, stuck inside this mortal body. But for everything it's worth, made me braver, made me wiser, made me stronger, made me true, made me face the world with courage. And that's all because of you. Freckled angels laugh the hardest, and their hearts, they are the largest. With their wings, they fly the farthest. So I know you're gonna be okay. Freckled angels live the longest, and their minds, they are the strongest. Oh, their friends, they are the fondest. So I know you're gonna be okay.
That was really difficult to listen to and experience. I know I say this a lot, but it was quite different than what I was expecting. I love that we got to learn this aspect of Ren's life from his childhood, but oh my goodness, it is devastating. I haven't even cleaned my face. I still have wet going all down my face. I wasn't expecting a song at the end either. When he started singing, I just had so much pain. I had this tightness in my throat, this pain in my chest. It was hard to listen to. It was hard to watch and devastating to see Ren so upset. To this day, they still haven't found Joe. They still haven't found him. So for Ren to have these thoughts that somehow, somewhere, Joe's living happily somewhere else, it just makes so much sense. Oh, it's devastating, devastating. And if the rest of the chapters are anything like this, I don't know how I'm going to be able to cope. I think that might be my first time as well hearing Ren play the piano. I don't think I have seen him play that yet. Of course, he knows how to play a keyboard. It, there would be nothing that that man cannot do musically. I'm telling you. It was wonderful to get the start of Ren's life in this beginning chapter, chapter 1, and I have no idea what's in store for the rest of the chapters, but I think they're going to be really hard to listen to because I know that Ren has faced many challenges in his life with his health. And a lot of that I can relate to as well. Like when he started talking about his insomnia, that is something I'm currently dealing with as well and have dealt with it now for a while, way too long. And a lot of the things that Ren talks about, I really can relate to. And I think that's what draws me to him so much, is that I can relate to a lot of the things that he is saying about his health, going to the doctor, trying to get help, feeling like you just can't take any more of it. And it's so devastating knowing that he has suffered the way that he has, but not just with his health, with losing a friend in that way as well, 1 minute too late. That is something that you would always think about. If, what if? There are so many what ifs. What if I did this? What if I did that? Could I? But then you cannot live that way. You cannot live that way with thinking about the what ifs. It would just tear you up into pieces. Are the rest of the chapters like this? Because that was a lot. That was a lot. And then I feel bad for saying that because this is Ren's life. And he's had to deal with that. And I want to know about him. I want to feel what he's gone through. I want to know what he's gone through. So if it's a lot, which it is, I want to experience that, you know? So I just don't know if you guys want me to do the rest of them like this or just watch them in my own privacy, I suppose. Because, hey, you don't really need to see me being all affected like this, do you? But you please do let me know what you would like me to do going forward with the rest of the chapters. But I will be watching and listening to them all, whether or not I do it here or by myself. So please do let me know what you would prefer. Yeah, if there's anyone out there that is suffering, please talk to somebody, reach out to your loved ones, your friends, your family. Don't suffer in silence. Talk to somebody, tell somebody what you're feeling, get help, whether or not it's from your friends or family, or if it's from your school or police officer or someone. Just reach out to someone and get that help, and tell your loved ones, your friends, your family, anyone that means anything to you. Just tell them how much they mean to you before you may not get a chance. So it's really, really important. You are also important to me, and I am grateful every single day. Thank you.